Temperatures are on a roller coaster over the next 2 weeks. There's a chance of rain on Sunday in your 7-day forecast next at the Weather Farm. Good evening and welcome to the Weather Farm. I'm Chief Meteorologist Christopher Hale with your weather forecast for Hendricks County and the surrounding 4-county region. If you like our content that we produce here at the Weather Farm, we ask that you go ahead and click that subscribe button, click the little bell next to it. That way you can be notified when new videos are posted, new shorts are posted, and when we go live during severe weather here in central Indiana, as well as winter weather events that are affecting our region. At our current conditions here at the Weather Farm, the temperature sits at 54 degrees with a dew point of 47. You may notice that it's ticked up a little bit, still very comfortable outside for those October evening events. Maybe it's a bonfire or you're roasting some marshmallows at your home this evening. Winds are calm out of the west-northwest. We take a look around our region. Again, at the top of the hour, Crawfordsville, you were sitting at 58. Ladoga, you were at 60. Rochdale, you had cooled to 56. Brownsburg, you were at 57. Avon, you were at 58. And up in Lebanon, in Boone County, 58 degrees. Temperatures will generally fall in the low to mid 40s across most of our area overnight. If we take a look at the daily almanac for here at the Weather Farm, we had a high temperature this afternoon of 75 degrees. This was after a morning low of 41. There's been no precipitation today. In fact, just again, still a trace of precipitation 10 days in for the month of October. For our Thursday, October 10th, the sun will rise at 7:51 a.m. Sun will set at 7:13 p.m. Well, the big story in the tropics over the last 72 hours has been Hurricane Milton. It has come ashore near Siesta Key, Florida as a Category 3 storm. Currently, there are excessive wind warnings, and Florida experienced many tornadic thunderstorms today before Milton made landfall. So let's take a look at those tropics. Again, Milton has come ashore near Siesta Key. We're still monitoring Hurricane Leslie out in the central Atlantic. It's expected to pose no hazard to any land masses. Its main impact is going to be shipping vessels. We have one area off the coast of Africa we're watching and one north of Bermuda that we're going to keep our eye on for any development. Here is the latest satellite imagery from Hurricane Milton as it comes ashore. It is expected to dump 4 to 6 to 8 inches of rain in that area over the next 24 to 36 hours. So let's take a look at that precipitation estimate. Again, this is ending Friday night at 7 p.m. We see, again, a swath from I-4 north towards Jacksonville of generally 4 to 6 inches of rain. And then south of that area, 2 to 4 inches of rain are expected. This is on top of the already 4 to 6 inches of rain that they received earlier this week in advance of Hurricane Milton. I do want to take a moment. We do have some live footage coming in from Terra Sia, Florida. So let's take a quick look at that before we go on with our forecast. And again, this just shows you kind of the ferocity. We're waiting for this video to load up. We've had trouble with this particular camera overnight, so I'm hoping that it comes up. I saw that it was back up for just a moment. Actually, it looks like they've switched cameras on us. They're looking at Fort Myers Beach here in an apartment complex that obviously has lost power. Earlier this evening, you could see all the apartment buildings, the walkways in between them. They were all lit up. This place has lost power except those essential lights. So if we see that other camera come back up, we might come back to it later on in the video. So we're looking at precipitation again to Florida. The one map that I do want to talk about right now is our hazards. Again, as I mentioned, most of our hazards map involve Florida with hurricane watches and warnings, excessive wind warnings, and then wind advisories. We do see a little bit of hazards here in West Virginia where they have a freeze watch. Freeze warnings are expected in parts of Colorado. Snowfall staying still north of the Canadian border through Friday night at 7 p.m. We have some snow through Quebec and then into Newfoundland and Labrador. Parts of Newfoundland and Labrador are expected to receive 2 to 5 inches of snowfall by Friday evening. Again, as the snowfall builds north of the border and makes its way closer to the United States border, it's just a reminder that it's that time of year when the temperatures are transitioning into colder weather, and we're going to see that here in the upcoming forecast as we look at the upper level models and we see our temperatures over the next 2 weeks. So let's take a look at that pattern right now. We see generally tranquil skies across most of the United States. There's not much weather from west to east. There are a couple low pressures that will come in, but we're watching this. This is the system that's going to drop down on Saturday into Sunday, and it's going to then develop a low pressure system that's going to shoot up into New England and produce some snows by midweek next week. The thing to notice on this particular map, and we're going to look at it here as we look closer, we zoom into Indiana, is when you see the blue 540 line start to appear in the north. That 540 line is the measurement of where the difference between the ground and where the 500 millibar jet is. And that's around 5,400 decameters. So that 5,400 decameter depth means that that is where the freezing line is likely now down to the surface. So it resides higher in the troposphere, and as that 540 line gets closer and closer down into our area, the freezing temperature. So that's why we expect temperatures to really turn cooler into the middle parts of next week. Because as you see, as that low departs on Sunday, that 540 line starts to dive south into central Indiana, signaling that our temperatures are going to turn much cooler into the middle parts of next week. And with that precipitation, again, it's a small chance on Sunday. It's not really going to produce a lot of precipitation statewide. In fact, best estimates are maybe 1/10 of an inch for some areas. Areas up near South Bend, as you saw, they're going to be aided by some lake effect rain Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week. They're going to give them a higher chance of precipitation near 1/2 of an inch. Let's go back to that camera. I see it's back up now here in Terracea. And so, again, this just gives you an idea of the ferocity of the winds that are going on down in Florida at this time. You can see the wind, the camera's just being whipped around here. This particular area still has some power, but you can just imagine the 100, 110 mile per hour winds that are affecting that area. So taking it back closer to home, our temperatures at the top of the hour showed Indianapolis at 61, Lafayette, you were at 62, Bloomington at 59. Again, temperatures will generally fall into the mid-40s away from the city. Indianapolis, you'll stay around 50 to 52 degrees. And so when we look here locally for Brownsburg, we're looking at clear skies tonight and calm winds. Again, we're forecasting a low of 43 degrees. So I talked about a little bit about that 540 line and our upcoming change in our pattern. So as we can see, we have a ridge building across the Central Plains that moves into our area on Thursday and Friday in advance of this trough that's going to dig in from the north and west. That's going to provide a little bit of cooler air, but it's the second part that starts to dig in on Sunday. That is going to generate a low pressure system that's going to move up into New England, and in this deep low up there, they're going to have parts of Vermont and New Hampshire that are going to have snow levels dropping to 2,000 feet. By midweek, next weekend this time, another ridge of warm weather comes in, but look right behind it, another deepening trough that makes its way through Idaho into Colorado, moves its way across the plain, and then we get a little jab of the polar jet trying to dip down, and it's going to kind of create a closed off area, a cold pool, and by, again, 2 weeks from now, our temperatures are going to drop well below normal, and then they're going to rise right back up as we approach the Halloween week. So we're on that really roller coaster ride of temperatures, 2 or 3 days of warm, 2 or 3 days of really cool. So let's see how this all plays out again. As I mentioned, Indianapolis tonight at 53, 40s in your outlying areas. For your Thursday, your temperature highs are going to be around 70 in Indianapolis. We're going to be under the influence of a wind shift. Winds are going to be out of the north and east, so it's going to be a little bit cooler today. In fact, Fort Wayne tomorrow will only be at 64. Tomorrow night, 52 for the low here in Indianapolis. Look upper 30s across lower Michigan. And then on our Friday, temperatures are going to warm as the winds switch around again from the south and east. 74 here in Indianapolis, 73 to our south in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. Saturday will be our nice warm day of the weekend. Temperatures in the mid to upper 70s across most of our areas. We won't touch those 80s and mid 80s that they're going to see across Missouri, but it is again that roller coaster ride of up and down that we're going to see over the next 2 weeks. So let's take a look at our forecast. As I mentioned, 72 tomorrow, 75 on Friday, 77 on Saturday. There's that chance of rain on Sunday, and then unsettled weather for early next week with temperatures, high temperatures dropping into the mid 50s, lows going sub-freezing potentially. Hope you've enjoyed your time here at the Weather Farm.